a really wise woman said to me, she said, Havilah, no one is going to value that moment like you did, and you got to experience it.
That's beautiful.
And it was this freeing moment for me. A lot of you ask questions about being moms of toddlers and boys, and is it normally this crazy, and is my kid gonna live, and like
am I going to
live? And
yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that we addressed those of you that have littles in your house. Some of you are pregnant. You're at that final term of like, I've got boys in my house and I'm having a boy, and am I ever gonna get a good night's sleep? Like, am I ever gonna have laundry done? Am I ever gonna give everybody like a home cooked meal more than mac and cheese and nuggets, from McDonald's? Like, I just know in my life,
I hope as an Italian mother, you did not do that.
No, I mean, we had mac and cheese. We have, some things that we do in our home that we've never got away from. We have Pizza Tuesday, and that's just a standing date. And I don't cook on Tuesdays. I love you, but that's what we have. We have Pizza Tuesdays.
That's awesome.
And there are certain things that I had to really come to terms with as that this was a season. And I think sometimes I remember moms would come to me and they'd be like, carpe diem this moment, like love this moment. And I'd be like, I'll love this moment when I can remember this moment, or that I'm not delirious, or I don't want to punch you in the face because you're saying, like, it goes so fast. And I'm like, really? Because last night did not go fast. And so there is this part where, you just feel like the world's kind of at you, like, this is the best years of your life. And you have
like,
this part of you.
Hope not.
I certainly hope that this isn't, I always said, like, there was points when I felt out of control. I had gained 40 pounds with every pregnancy.
I gained 52.
I was like, I either need to lose my stomach or name it. I mean, it was just, that's what my life was. And so I was constantly delirious. I mean, I didn't ever cook. It was just I just trying to get through. And there was this one point where I had a really wise woman say to me, you just have to be okay with good enough right now, and you're so stuck on perfect. The kids having a perfectly organic meal, and you dropping the weight immediately, and being an athlete, and you need to be having the perfect pictures. And I remember there was this one moment where I had thrown this beautiful party for my boys, and I remember feeling like it was like I had planned it. I had done invitations and I had done the cake, and I was like so proud of myself. I had pulled this off because we had forgotten birthdays, and
yeah.
I remember at the end of it, the whole house leaving, everybody leaving the house, and I realized that I hadn't taken pictures. And immediately,
you sit down and start crying.
I started crying. I just remember, like, it makes me emotional now.
Right now.
Yeah, because I remember feeling like, oh my gosh, like I missed that moment. Like, this is their life, and I missed it. And
I believe Jesus has videos of those in heaven.
I really do. I'll be sitting on that couch.
Don't worry, moms.
I'll be like, pull out, year 2000. I don't remember any of it. But I remember feeling like so kind of ashamed. Like, how could I have missed this? And a really wise woman said to me, she said, Havilah, no one is going to value that moment like you did, and you got to experience it.
That's beautiful.
And it was this freeing moment for me. And she said, when your mother-in-law sends pictures of your husband or videos, how excited are you about that? And I'm like, he's cute, but I didn't give birth to him. And she said, that's how most of the world's gonna feel. It was your baby, it was your moment, it was your party. And so the fact that you were engaged in it was the most important. And so I really have come to that point in my life where, I have one baby book that's done, and it has 5 pictures in it. But I have a great computer that has it all, and there'll be a day when I'm really, really rested, and I will sit through my photos, and someone's gonna invent the master baby book where I'll just go, here's my pictures, and they'll be like,
it has photo recognition.
Exactly. It'll just be perfect.
And
I'm waiting for that. I'm outlasting this baby book thing. But I had to go. People, they pull out their scrapbooks.
No, the creative memories is putting so much guilt on me.
Oh, I bought everything. I own every piece of that, but it's in my garage. And so there's a part of it where we have to really realize,
Can someone please do this for Havilah?
Yeah, exactly. Please, all of you scrapbookers, find me. But I had to put away my mom guilt to realize that my strength was different than that mom's strength.
Yeah.
And that is okay. One core value I had was like, I'm not going to let them go until they let go. So I would just hold on to my babies when they were little. And, one thing I nursed my babies and I loved it. But part of the nursing was, I had to fight to do that because I knew that every 3 hours I would be holding them and I would be looking at them and I'd be holding their hands. So those moments, I'm telling you, you might go, all I do is nurse. Yeah, that's probably all you do right now. But it will change, and you'll look back and be so grateful that you had those moments. I know I'm one of those. I'm saying carpe diem, but I'm just saying, I don't know if you remember that, but now looking back.
I totally do. And Arden wouldn't disengage. So I remember we actually would, I'd be nursing.
Means
and
unlatch.
unlatch. So I would have him propped up on pillows. and he would be asleep. And then I would type over the top
Absolutely.
of him. I was editing John's book, The Bait of Satan. I was working on my book, my first book, Out of Control and Loving It. And yeah, and it's just like, you know what, you have to understand that everything has a season.
Yeah.
And life is a time test. You only have 10 years when they're 10 and under. You can't recover that. It's a time test, and it's like, turn your test over. That's not, you're never going to have that time back. And I think if you maybe missed some earlier sessions, the only regret I had was that I didn't play with them more during that early time test. But you know what? Instead of just going, man, I really missed it. I've
making up for
it now.
And you do. You play with
up for it
you
now.
do.
So, so you don't, we don't want you to feel regret. We don't want you to go, man, I messed up. We really want you to understand that there's future. There's future, and you can redeem that. But yeah, it's
some messy years. I mean, I've made so many mistakes. I remember one time we threw a party for our kids, and we got a knock at the door, and we thought, oh, there's a guest here. And when we opened the door, one of our neighbors had our 2-year-old that had wandered down the street in the dark, in their diaper, and was like, are you missing? And not only did he walk and leave, but we weren't missing him.
Yeah,
and
you were unaware.
I mean, you're just trying to keep everybody alive. There's
I was always counting.
And we do. I try not to.
I dress my kids the same. It's kind of weird.
It's the denim phenomenon, right?
Oh, that one. Yeah. They had neon orange bathing suits. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes, I'm doing this summer.
Yeah.
But the concept of like, you're gonna fail. You're gonna do things that you're and if you die in that failure, and you're like, oh, I'm a horrible mom, and how could I let that happen? And you die in that failure, you're not gonna be able to realize we're all gonna fail. This is normal. That's part of normal mothering, and this is it's part of life. So you're not all things to all men. You're not omnipresent. There is an ability to do that. So part of it is that we are stewards of our children. God gives us them for a season to nurture in that way, and we do our best. And your best is enough. It is enough. So relax. And now we're at a season where we don't
get better.
You can.
Yeah. So yes, your best is enough, but when you know better, you do better.
True.
So you're hearing things,
True.
So you can do better. When that's why you're watching this anyway. You're not watching this to get excuses. You're watching because you want more tools and more skill set. When my boys were little too, I do remember feeling just overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And I do remember locking my boys outside. I'm just going to say it. We had a fenced-in backyard, and I was like, hey, guys, you can tinkle on trees. There's a hose you can drink water. And I would just throw them bars. I'd be like, I don't want anybody else coming in the house unless you're bleeding. And they'd pick scabs and hold it up to the glass door, can I come in? I'd be like, it needs to flow.
That is boys.
It needs to flow. There's not flow. That's just a scab or a mosquito bite, and I'd be like, you're fine. And then I one of the things that I wanted, but was the thing I wanted, but then it was a problem for me. I wanted their friends to come to our house.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have everybody at my house, but then that's overwhelming.
It is overwhelming.
And so I would call John and I'd be like, all these other moms are at the mall. I haven't seen any other moms. I have 7 boys in my backyard peeing on trees, and these other moms, they're gone. They haven't even called me about their children yet.
Right, their daughter's cuddling.
Yeah.
Their daughter's cuddling the pictures.
They're like, we're so glad our boys are at the Bevere's house. But so you have to be able to to not let them run your life, and it is overwhelming. But it's just a season.
Yeah.
And
I know. And the boys, I always said, adding 1 child means I have 5. Adding 2 means I have 7. 6. It just gets bigger and bigger where you're like, wow, and your life is chaotic. So I love that you said that.
But then it gets better later because they play together. One of our sons, who I just find to be so refreshing, possibly because he's a lot like me. Anyway, he was asked by some friends of ours, what? They said, all 4 of you guys love God. And you're obedient, and you seem normal, and you balance, your athletes, whatever, and they said, what did your parents do? What was their secret? And so he thought about it for a while, and he came back and he said, they spanked us and they played cards with us. And I think he was just saying that my parents engaged with us, and sometimes that meant we forced engagement. We'd be like, no, you have to play cards with us, because life happens around the table. We'd clear everything. They'd get their homework, and then we'd be like, we're all playing cards. And be like, no, we don't want to play cards. We're like, no, we're your mother and your father. We're forcing you to play cards with us. But things would happen around the table where it created environments where we could have time together. Great. And so, find something that your family can do together that you're not just surviving your kids, you're actually enjoying them. Yeah. You need to enjoy your kids.
And I had to learn that as a mom too. You love the outdoors. I'm like, want to walk the mall. So, and I know you would shop with me. I mean, that's point.
I'm kind of a destination
But
shopper.
you like, yeah. And I had to learn, like, you know what? My boys are never going to walk the mall with me for hours. That's
Yeah, I
not
tried
gonna
to make them do that. They
Yeah,
don't
so
know.
I had to learn, like, okay, honey, let's go get my bike fixed. Like, let's get my helmet. Like, I had to really learn this is not going away, and I need to find things that I enjoy. So I might bring the like really fantastic picnic with a bunch of food, but I'm gonna have to do things that they enjoy because I'm in a boy home, and I'm not going to turn them away from that. So that was important for me, learning things that work. And we have dinner every night. I mean, that's not, when we're home, we really value dinner time.
Yeah, and if you are feeling overwhelmed, lock them outside.
True.
If you are feeling overwhelmed,
True.
say, Mommy's going in time out. And then just put yourself, it's kind of interesting
really
for them,
good.
but just say, I'm going to have to go in some time with prayer with God. Or tell your husband, I need to take a bath. You need to take
Yeah.
over. You know, don't have the meltdown. Don't do whatever, but just create some space.
That's really good.
Create some space in your life. Have a great sense of humor. I do remember when I was pregnant with Arden, driving in a car, and we had just left my mom, and they, of course, all love my mom because she bought them things. And one of the kids said, I don't think Annie kissed me goodbye. And I was like, she kissed all of you. And then there was like, oh, she didn't kiss me. And they all began to cry. And I remember looking over at a vacant field and thinking, I could put my car in park, run screaming in this vacant field, and just leave my children. Like, I always had 2 sets of keys, so
Right.
the car could be on air
Right.
conditioning. I could just run and then go back. Nobody's going to take my kids from me. That would be okay if I just went out there and screamed. And all my kids were crying. All my kids were screaming. And then all of a sudden, I just started screaming. And they were like, and then like they stopped. And I was like, okay, we've all screamed now. We're done. You know, so you just have to understand you're going to make it through,
That's
you know,
really good.
and it's just have a good
life.
sense, have
And
a good
scream,
sense of humor.
I've walked into many cars where it's just screaming, and I just go sit outside the car and just let the scream and just sit for a minute. One time I talked to a friend of mine, and she had talked about how it's good for your kids to see your limit. And sometimes I think as moms we're afraid that if they see our limit that they're gonna freak out. But it's good for them to see you're tired. It's good for them to see that you lay down every once in a while. You just need to lay down, or Mommy needs quiet time. I'm gonna be in my room. Everybody goes to their rooms. You know, we have a quiet time. We try to enforce quiet time, not always, but between 4 and 5 while I'm cooking dinner. Like if I'm cooking and you're around me, I can't do everything. So we ask, you know, go to your room for that hour and let Mommy do this. And so it's good for them to see the limit that I'm not always accessible to them at all times if they're in trouble, yes. But in life, it's good for them to know that we have boundaries and limits. So
It's so good. Can't wait for some more sessions.
I know.
Okay, now moms, you know you put yourself last on the list. We are not doing that anymore. Your marriage needs to be high, and you need to also be high on that list. If you have not taken care of yourself and you're not refreshing yourself, you're not going to have anything to give to your husband. So we want you to figure out what actually makes you feel refreshed. Is it working in the yard? Is it going for a walk? Is it taking a long bath? Because you need time together, but you need to come into that time with your husband refresh. You need to create space. You have a season right now that may feel very, very crazy. Very crazy. And you need to say, it's just a season. It's just a season. But in this season, we're going to capture some amazing moments, even if it's 15 minutes together. One of the tools that you can do and change things is be consistent with their bedtime. If you put them to bed at 8 o'clock and you're still putting them to bed again at 9:30, you need to be more consistent. Light out, doors shut. You need time with your husband. And the two of you can watch a movie without your kids. You can go downstairs in the basement if you've got one. And if you're a single mom, hey, you definitely need some time. You need some time to refresh your soul. So get those kids to bed and make sure that you get the refreshing you need. Understand it's a season, and you want to go from strength into season and the strength to the next season. So get that time of refreshing, no matter how small that piece of the pie is. Make sure it happens.